All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling, where you're trying to explain something that's crystal clear to you, but the person you're talking to gets, well, defensive, maybe even angry? It's like you've personally insulted them just by thinking things through. Well, today we're going to dig into exactly that, the high personal cost of thinking for yourself in a world that, let's be honest, really likes it when we all just agree.
It really boils down to this question, doesn't it? It's a feeling a lot of us know all too well. That strange loneliness that doesn't come from being wrong, but from being, well, right. But right in a way that's different from everyone else. So why? Why does seeing things clearly so often make you feel like you're on the outside looking in?
Okay, look at this, 75%. Now, this isn't just some random statistic I pulled out of a hat. This number, it represents something really, really profound about how our brains are wired. And honestly, it's kind of terrifying. Yup, that's the percentage of people who will knowingly lie just to fit in with the group. This comes from a classic study, the Solomon-Asch conformity experiments. What he found was that 3 out of every 4 people will literally look at an answer they know is wrong, and they'll say it's right just so they don't have to be the odd one out. Think about that for a second. Their brain chose belonging over reality. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the herd in the mirror, basically the social pressure cooker. Then, we'll talk about building your inner fortress, the tools you need. After that, we'll dive into the evolution of silence. And finally, we'll face the price of clarity head-on. All right, let's get into our first section, the herd and the mirror. This is all about understanding the social pressure that's always around us, those deep, almost primal forces that push us to blend in and, well, punish us when we don't. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche actually had a name for this whole thing. He called it herd morality. And listen, this isn't meant as an insult. Nietzsche wasn't calling people sheep. He saw it more like a diagnosis. It's a survival instinct baked into our DNA, where the group's safety and unity are way, way more important than any one person's individual truth. And this chart just lays it out so perfectly, right? On one side, you have what the herd values: belonging, certainty, safety. It's comfortable. But on the other side, that's what it fears: individuality, questions, and the cold hard truth. So when you show up with a tough question or a new idea, it's not just a simple disagreement. To the group's collective brain, you're a threat. You're rocking the boat. This leads us to something called the mirror effect. And Schopenhauer basically nailed this. When you think deeply and clearly about something, you're not just offering up a new idea. You're holding up a mirror. And that mirror, it reflects back the limitations of the people around you. And, well, nobody likes to see that. It feels like an attack. So your clarity becomes their mirror. And what's wild is what's happening on a neurological level. Your clear thinking literally reflects back everything they've been trying to avoid. And get this, studies suggest this triggers a threat response in their brain that's a lot like feeling actual physical pain. So let that sink in. They're not pushing back because you're wrong. They're pushing back because your clarity hurts. Okay, so if that's the world we're up against, what do we do about it? How do we build the solution inside ourselves? That brings us to section 2, building your inner fortress. This is all about the architecture of mental strength, how to build the resilience to stand firm. True mental strength, the kind that lasts, isn't just one thing. It's really built on 3 core pillars. First, there's discipline architecture. This is about designing your environment so the right choice is the easy choice. Second, emotional sovereignty. This is key. It's about feeling everything, but letting nothing control you. And finally, identity transformation. This is the big one, becoming the kind of person for whom doing hard things is just normal. So let's drill down on that first pillar, because it's a game changer. Discipline isn't about having superhuman willpower. It's about engineering. Think about it. The most disciplined people you know, they've just set up their lives to make failure difficult. They put the alarm clock across the room, they sleep in their gym clothes, they've engineered their environment so that being weak isn't even really an option. Now for pillar number 2, emotional sovereignty. This is huge. It's all about finding that little bit of space between something happening and how you react to it. So you feel anger, you feel fear, but you don't let it drive the car. You learn to observe the feeling instead of becoming the feeling. It's the tiny but massive difference between saying I am angry and I feel anger. In that little gap, that's where all your power is. All right, time for another tool to add to our fortress, and this one is a bit of a secret weapon. Section 3, the evolution of silence. See, most people see silence as just an absence of noise, empty space, but it's not. It's an active, powerful skill, and it has levels.
Okay, so at level 2, you have observational silence. This is where your silence stops being an accident and becomes a lens. You're not quiet because you're shy. You're quiet because you're watching. You're collecting data. You're mapping the social dynamics of the room. You start to see the things everyone else misses because they're also busy talking.
Then you level up to strategic silence. Now, silence is a weapon. It's tactical. In a negotiation, you use it to create pressure, to make the other person fill the space, often with information you need. In an argument, it disrupts their momentum. It signals that you're in control. Sometimes not saying anything is the most powerful thing you can do.
And this leads to the ultimate level, something called social gravity. This is where your quiet, self-contained presence actually starts to change the environment around you. It's incredible. People start to adjust their behavior to match your calm. They defer to you without you even saying a word. Your inner world starts to pull the outer world into its orbit.
So, you've done it. You've built your inner fortress. You've got discipline. You've got emotional control. You've mastered silence. But, and there is a but, this brings us to our final, crucial section, the price of clarity. Because seeing the world this clearly, it comes with a cost. A very real and sometimes very painful cost.
The theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer. This guy was writing from inside a Nazi prison, and he came to this absolutely chilling realization. He said that the most dangerous enemy of good isn't malice or evil. You can protest against evil. The real enemy, he argued, is stupidity. But we have to be super clear on what he meant by stupidity. This has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence or IQ. For Bonhoeffer, stupidity was a moral failing. It was the choice to surrender your own independent thought for the warm, cozy blanket of belonging to a powerful group or an ideology. And this is why arguing with some people feels like hitting a brick wall. Bonhoeffer figured it out. You think you're talking to a person, but you're not. You're talking to the slogans, the catchphrases, the ideology that's taken them over. Your facts don't matter, because you're not attacking their argument, you're attacking their identity, their tribe. And that brings us right back to where we started, that feeling of loneliness. If you've ever felt it, this is why. It's because you refuse to make that trade. You refuse to surrender your independence. And while that refusal makes you free in a world that is absolutely addicted to certainty and belonging, it also makes you dangerous. And yeah, sometimes it makes you alone. So in the end, the real question isn't, are you right? That's the easy part. The much, much harder question, the one that Nietzsche and Bonhoeffer and all those experiments point to, is this. Can you handle being right alone? Because that, right there, has always been the price of true clarity.